Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf, BECHOROS Daf Tesvav. We are holding on Yudalad Beis, the second wide line. Im Mesu Yipad. Back to the Mishnah. We had two categories. One animal had been assigned as a korban with Kedushas HaGuf. It was actually inherently Kaddish, suitable for offering on the Mizbeach. In that case, even if it got blemished along the way, went sour, it is considered Besulei HaMikdashim, a disqualified korban, in which case, even after redemption, it still maintains some residual Kedusha regarding many matters. A step below that was the animal which had been blemished prior to becoming Hekdesh. So he took a severely blemished animal and designated it for a korban. Rashi explains, you know what happens in this case? It's not going to become inherently Kaddish. It merely has Kedushas Damim LaMizbeach, meaning its value will be directed to the Mizbeach. He will sell it and use the money to buy a korban. So these are two levels of Kachim Mizbeach. One is merely Kedushas Damim, it's monetarily Kaddish, and one is Kedushas HaGuf, inherently Kaddish. Okay, now the Mishnah says that when it's only Kedushas Damim, so once you do the pidyon, once you redeem it, it's back to normal. It's considered an ordinary animal. In fact, even if it dies before you redeem it, imesu yipadu, just redeem it. Despite the fact that you can't really apply the mandated process of ha'amada v'ha'arocha, which is described in the pasuk in terms of assessing prior to redemption. Ha'amada, you stand up the animal, you assess it properly. You can't do that. It's dead on the ground. Imesu. So how could you redeem it? The answer is there's no requirement for ha'amada v'ha'arocha. If it's merely Kedushas Damim and was never really inherently Kaddish and meant for a korban. Whereas in the second part of the Mishnah, we speak about the next level, which had Kedushas HaGuf. In that case, if it dies, you can't redeem it, because that is true Kaddish Mizbeach. It's a true animal meant for a Mizbeach, which means that if it goes sour, you have to redeem it properly with Ha'amada, with Ha'arocha. You have to have it stand upright and assess it properly. Okay, so before we proceed, let's just categorize it. Basically, we have three levels. We have Kachim Mizbeach, as we discussed, two levels within that. Right? The top level is the Kedushas HaGuf. It was inherently Kaddish, then it went sour. Below that, we have number two, which is an animal meant for Mizbeach, but it merely had Kedushas Damim. So its value will be directed to the Mizbeach. Sell it, you buy another animal, use it as a korban. Then we have below that level 3, which we have yet to discuss. Kache Bedek HaBayis, something which a fellow merely donated to the a building fund, to the treasury, unrelated to the Mizbeach, unrelated to Akrava. Now, it's a big machlokes. Which one of these require ha'amada v'ha'arocha? This process of standing him up erect, and the animal and assessing it. So clearly, in our Mishnah, we learned that kachim mizbeach need ha'amada v'ha'arocha. Right, and that explains why. We had discussed both levels in the Mishnah. Number one, number two. Number one is the inherent kedusha. Number two is the merely monetary kedusha of kachim mizbeach. And Mishnah clearly tells us that in the number one, you need Hamad Varuch, and therefore if it dies, you can't redeem it. So who's speaking in this Mishnah? Who requires Hamad Varuch by Kachim Mizbeach? Because there's a big machlokes. Some say you do, some say you don't. Amar Vidam Rav, Zu Devrei, whose opinion is this? Rabbi Shimon. The Amar tells us that yes, Kachim Mizbeach. Animals meant for Akrava, need to be processed this way. they need to be properly assessed with Hamad V'Aracha. That explains why if it dies prior to redemption, you have to bury it. So only Kachim Mizbeach, as we're going to see in a minute, only the top level of Kachim Mizbeach, the Kedushas Haguf, which we called number 1. But Kachim Bedek HaBayis, which is level 3, doesn't need Hamad V'Aracha. This nan, as we have a Mishnah in Meseches Tumura, Rabbi Shimon Aimer, Kachim Bedek HaBayis, Mesu Yipadu. Kachim Bedek HaBayis, if it dies, you just redeem it. There's no need to do Hamad V'Aracha. That's level 3. Because only level 1 requires it. But level 3 does not, and nor does level 2, which is the animal directed for Mizbeach use, but not inherently Kaddish, only for its money, right? Umayda Reb Shimon, even Reb Shimon would agree. If this animal was blemished from the get-go, and then assigned for Mizbeach, it's not really level 1, it's level 2. Shanifta, just redeem it, even though you can't put it through the Hamad V'Aracha process. My time, huh? Why? Why is this different than level number 1? The Makra, the Pasuk, when speaking about the Hamad V'Aracha done to a proper carbon, the Makra Oisa is an exclusion. Limutei Balmum Mikara, as opposed to level 2, which is Balmum Mikara, which does not require Hamad V'Aracha. Okay, so according to Rabbi Shimon, Hamad V'Aracha only applies to level 1, which is Kedushas Haguf L'Mizbeach, but not level 2, which is merely Kedushas Damim L'Mizbeach, or level 3, which is Kedushas Bedek HaBayis. That's his opinion. Aval Chachamim, I remember there's a shita called Chachamim, who apply Hamad V'Aracha to all 3 levels, without differentiation, 1, 2, and 3. Aval Chachamim, Imrim, Imesu, Yikaveru. Even level 2, if it dies, you have to bury it because you can't get it up and assess it. Man Chachamim, what's the name to the face? Who are the Chachamim? Tanad Vei who is Tanad Vei Levi, who applies this process to all levels. Tanad Vei Levi, Ha'koil Hayu B'chlal Hamad V'Aracha. All types of Hekdesh, 1, 2, and 3 level, are all included in this process. Even level 2, which is an animal which is inherently unfit for Mizbeach. Likewise, he presented in his Brisa. It applies to all types and stripes. Even an animal, a fowl, a chicken, even things which were never suitable for a carbon. So he donated it for, Bedek HaBayis. In order to redeem, you have to do Hamad V'Aracha. What about the word Oisa, which is coming to exclude something? Oisa Latan Levi Kash. You're right. We haven't really resolved what the lesson of Oisa is. Okay. Says the Gemara. So far, we have 2 opinions, right? We have Tanad Vei Levi, that this process, meaning this Hamad V'Aracha process, applies to level 1, 2, and 3, without differentiation. Versus Reb Shimon, who applies it merely to level 1. But there is yet a third shita. You see over there, Meseches Tumura, we have the Chachamim who disagree with Reb Shimon over there, which is a third opinion. And according to the way Rabbi Yechon learns over there, they apply this process of Hamad V'Aracha to Bedek HaBayis, which is level 3, and also to Kachim Mizbeach. To level number 1. So our Mishnah reflects their Shita as well, right? Aval Rabbanan, the Pligi, Oled Rabbi Shimon, Mai. But what would you say the opinion of the Chachamim over there in Maseches Tumura, who argue with Rabbi Shimon? He says it only applies to level 1. They say it applies even to level 3, but also to level 1. Hachinami de Mesu Yipadu. So according to them, you're implying that the same, would hold true according to them, meaning that Hamad V'Aracha applies to level 1 too, and therefore if it dies before redemption, if it's level 1, you have to bury it. If it's level 2, right, you can just redeem it because it only applies to level 1 or 3. If it dies before redemption, you just redeem it. Yachi, if that is so, then why did, in the beginning of our segment, we have a Ridam or Rav? Who's speaking in our Mishnah? That only applies to level 1, not to level 2. That's Reb Shimon. Well, it's not just Reb Shimon, it's Rabbanan too. Yachi, if that's the case, we turn to the next page. He should have said, well, this is the opinion of Reb Shimon and his disputant. Because they also agree that Hamad Arach applies to level 1. So why didn't he lump together Reb Shimon and the Chachamim? I understand there's Talmud Bavli who disagrees. He says that Hamad Arach applies to all levels. And that opinion is certainly not reflected in our Mishnah. But both Reb Shimon and apparently the Chachamim concur that it applies to level 1, which is the subject matter of our Mishnah, not level 2. So why don't we just pair them together? Amri. So the answer was given like this. Rav, who limited our Mishnah, in line with Reb Shimon, and did not put it in line with Chachamim, because he had a different version of the Chachamim. He held like Reb Shimon Lakish's explanation of the Chachamim over there in Maseches Tzmura, that Hamad Arach only applies to level 3, not to level 1 or level 2. So that's inconsistent with our Mishnah, that Hamad Arach applies to level 1. Amri, so the answer was given like this. Rav, who presented our equation, Reb Shimon Lakish, he was in line with that perspective. The Amar, who says, L'Rabban, according to Rabban, Kacheh Bedek Habai is only level 3. Hayu b'chol Hamad Arach. But level 1, level 2, Kacheh Mizbeach, Lo Hayu b'chol Hamad Arach. Okay, so then our Mishnah is inconsistent with that, because clearly our Mishnah holds that it applies to level 1. Our Mishnah cannot be inconsistent with the Rabbanon, because look at the Mishnah. That level 1 needs Hamad Arach. In fact, if it dies prior to redemption, you have to bury it because of that reason. The Tani Sefer, look at the second part of that Mishnah. So you cover if the level 1 animal dies, you have to bury it. Presumably because it needs Hamad Arach. Okay, so that explains why Rav linked our Mishnah with Reb Shimon only. Okay, let's just recap now. We have Talmud Bavli, pretty simple. Hamad Arach applies to level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 means Kacheh Mizbeach, which is inherently Kaddish, suitable for Akrava. Level 2 is Kacheh Mizbeach, which was totally unsuitable. And level 3 is Kacheh Bedek Habayis. According to the Chachamim in Maseches Tzmura, according to Rabbi Yechan's explanation, it applies to level 3 and to level 1. But according to Reb Shimon Lakish, it only applies to level 3. According to Reb Shimon, it applies to level 1 only, and that's perfectly in sync with our Mishnah. Says the Gemara, so our Mishnah is not in sync with Rabbanan, because in our Mishnah we seem to say that level 1 needs Hamad Arach, which is inconsistent with Rabbanan. How do you know you need Hamad Arach? Because the Mishnah says if it dies, you have to bury it. Mimai, how do you know that's the correct explanation? That's the basis for that halacha. You cover. The reason why you have to bury it if it dies before redemption, because it needs to be stood up and assessed. Oh, that's the reason. Who says that's the reason? Dilma, perhaps. It's based on a totally different reason. You know what's preempting redemption? There's no halacha. You can't redeem kodesh material and feed it to the dogs. Disrespectful. Achilim l'klavim. Right? There's a halacha. You can't do that. Perhaps that's the reason. Amri. So the answer was like this. In Cain, if that's the only reason, so the Mishnah could have found a more simple scenario to illustrate this halacha. Forget about a dying animal. It could be alive and well, but maybe he's alive and not well. He's a treif. In Cain, if that were the only issue, The Torah does not allow redemption to feed a dog. Nifstin, the Mishnah could have presented, even after treifa you cover. If it turns out treifa, so it's inedible, so then you have to bury it. Wait till it dies and bury it. Versus redeeming it. Because if you redeem it, you can only feed it to the dogs, right? Why did the Mishnah have to speak about an animal that died? Oh, it sounds like because when it's dead, you can't do amad v'aracha. That's the factor at play. That's the issue. So again, perhaps the problem was because you're feeding it to the dogs, and not because it requires amad v'aracha. Then why speak about a dead animal? Speak about a live animal, unwell. You still can't redeem it. So even though you can stand it up and assess it, but you can't do so because you're going to be feeding it to the dogs. It's only fit for dogs. A treifa, it's not kosher, right? The very fact that the Mishnah chose to illustrate this halacha with a dead animal, apparently it's because of the hamad v'aracha issue. Here comes another pshat. The truth is, a Rav could fully be on Rabbi Yechan's track, which was that according to the Shitas Chachamim over there, Maseches Tzmura, Hamad V'Arocha applies to level 3, which is Bedek HaBayis, and also to level 1, which is Kosher Mizbeach. Let's revise Rav's statement. That yes, our Mishnah actually is linked with Reb Shimon and the Chacham, as you had proposed. Okay, so in summation, the Torah stipulates that before redemption, you must do Hamada, stand up the animal, Arocha, and properly assess it in that position. When does this apply? According to Tanuvei Levi, in all situations, 1, 2, and 3. Kachim Mizbeach for real, Kachim Mizbeach weak, and Kachim Bedek HaBayis. According to Reb Shimon, applies to level 1 only. According to Chachamim, well, it depends. According to Rabbi Yechanan, applies to level 1 and level 3. According to Rish Lakish, only level 3. Okay, so this pretty much concludes the first part of our Mishnah, which discusses level 2. An animal which is unfit for carbon, and never really got to the point of Kedushas Aguf, what to do with it, how to deal with it. Okay. Now comes the next category, the next level, a higher level, level 1. We have a carbon which had been assigned for Mizbeach, and then it got severely blemished and became unfit. This is what we call Pisuli HaMikdashim, and even after being blemished, and even after being redeemed, it still holds on to certain residual kedushas. The Mishnah says, even after redemption, it's exempt from bechorah. If it has a firstborn animal, there's no kedusha. Matana, if you don't give the lizroya l'chayim, you can't give it to the kayin. Even after redemption, you can't go share it, you can't work with it. The milk, the offspring is asur, etc. So now we're going to focus on that. But now, how do we know it's exempt from bechorah matanis? The Tanur Rabban, we have a brayso. If you look at the pasuk that describes Pesulei HaMikdashim, let's refer to it as Psulei in short. Okay, Psulei are compared to Tzvi v'ayil, different types of chaya creatures. What's the point of linking it to Tzvi v'ayil? So that we equate it to them regarding certain halachas. Tanur Rabban and Tzvi, ma Tzvi patur b'chorah, just like a Tzvi is exempt from b'chorah, which only applies to behemoths, not Tzvi, which is a chaya. Psulei HaMikdashim, likewise, these are petur and b'chorah, exempt from b'chorah. No, perhaps only exempted from b'chorah, but not from matanis. Ayil, it's compared to a tzvi and ayil. What's the point of comparing it also to ayil? Ma ayil patur b'chorah u'man matanis. Ayil, which is part of the chaya family, is exempt from both items, b'chorah and matanis. Likewise, our psulei, av psulei hamikdashim, petur are exempt from both obligations, b'chorah and matanis. No, okay. look, if you're comparing it, compare it all the way. We know that the chelev, the forbidden fats, are only forbidden in a behema, not in a chaya. So perhaps we'll compare psule to a chaya and permit its fats. Okay, so just like the tzviv and ayil, which are from the chaya family, their chelev is mutter. Af pesule hamikdash and chalban mutter. Perhaps I'll allow for consumption the chelev of a psule hamikdashim despite being a behema. Tamalayim, no. The pasuk adds the word ach. No, that's going too far. Chalak, chilek. We differentiate. We don't extend it this far. Okay, Amar. Let's go back and review. By the way, I just saw the name of the medrash. There's Tanchum Amar is Hashem, the master of all existence. Amar. What does Hashem say? So the Gemara was proposing, perhaps, I should only exempt Bechor and not Matanis. What's the difference? Why would I only exempt the psule from Bechor? Why? She'ein shava b'koil. So basically it's a kasha. Why would I differentiate between one and the other? Why is it easier to exempt it from Bechor and over Matanis? The answer is like this. Perhaps there's reason to think to more quickly exempt Pesule from Bechor, from having the halacha of Bechora, which is not universal. It's limited only to the male firstborn, so it's a limited mitzvah to begin with. So perhaps it's easier to put it aside, but not matanos, which apply universally, cross-gender, male animals, female animals. That's what I would think. Talmud Bavli comes the next word in the pasuk, ayil. Compare the psule to the ayil as well. Ayil is pata from matanos due to the fact that it's an akeva, it's a chaya. The same with psule. Ask the Gemara, okay, if we're comparing it, compare it all the way. Look, if you're comparing it, to say like this, just like tzviva ayil have no mitzvah oises b'noi, you can shech the mother animal, the offspring on the same day because it's only applicable to a behema. These are chayos. Perhaps the same allowance will apply to psulei. Av psulei hamikdashim ein oisai v'es b'noi neeg boy. Okay, so psulei, retains, some carbon status, some kedusha, and it's exempt from certain things. Perhaps we'll add an exemption of oisav as b'nai to the list. Amar Lesi says, think about it. What's unique about a psulei hamikdash? Because it retains some residual kedusha. That's all. So why would that be a reason to exempt it from oisav as b'nai? You see, whether an animal is an ordinary animal chulin, or whether it's a kodesh animal, oisav as b'nai is universal, applies to all equally. So whether this psul is considered carbon or ordinary animal, either way it had oisav as b'nai. There's no reason to exempt it from that halacha. What are you comparing the psule to? How are you labeling it? Comparing it to a regular ordinary animal, then surely oisav es b'nai would apply noyek boy. If you're labeling it as a carbon because it still holds on to some kedusha, then it's still oisav es b'nai will still apply to it noyek boy. There's no logic in exempting it. Amar Lesi says, let's go back. You were proposing that perhaps we should compare the psule to the tzviva ayil and exempt it from chelev prohibitions. Well, how does that relate to its status? I mean, whether it's chulin or kachim, chelev of a behem is aser, so why would I even think to exempt it? Same thing regarding the chelev topic. We could also argue the same. Why in the world would I exempt it? Why would I allow it? Whatever I label it, whatever I compare the psule to, whatever category I give it, the chelev still remains aser. Whether it's chulin or kachim, it's aser. Oh, so he says you're right. Okay. So apparently we can't use this argument as a discounter. Ella, rather the answer is like this. What's your question? We should compare the psule to tzviva ayil and exempt him from oiser esbenoi. Lav mi amras ach v'lechelbon, just like we use the word ach to limit the linkage and the comparison. We put chelav out of the equation, and it's still asr. And manami ach lo oiser esbenoi. Ach as well can come to place oiser esbenoi out of the equation. So regarding these two matters, we do not compare psule to tzviva ayil, and they do apply to the psule. Rav has a slightly different approach. Same result, just a different sourcing. Rav Amar ach, the word ach, to limit the comparison to tzviva ayil, lo oiser esbenoi das. It's coming for oiser esbenoi to teach that it will apply to psule. Regarding chelev v'chelboi, the prohibition on the chelev of the psule midamei nafka. It's from damai, different source in that same pasuk. The pasuk says, actually a different pasuk. The pasuk says, "Rak." The siv rak is damei lo yiseichel. So don't eat its blood. Rashi says it's talking about a different version of a disqualified carbon, a b'chor balmum. Okay, the same idea. Don't eat its blood. Why is that necessary? Why is it necessary to speak out? Don't eat the blood of it. I mean, my dummy. What are we talking about? What is dummy referring to? Ilay dummy mamish, literally the blood. Don't eat the blood. Lo yehiyel adaman tzviva ayil. So we're comparing the psula mikdashim to the tzviva ayil. Suppose this blood would be legitimately the tzviva ayil's blood. Is that a reason to permit it? Of course not. Otu daman the tzviva ayil mishari. Since when is the blood of a deer, of an ayil, allowed? Ella, rather dama is chelvei. When it says dama, it really means the chelev. To teach us that the chelev of a psuli hamikdashim is still asr, despite its comparison to the tzviva ayil, who achayis, whose fat is mutter, and here it's asr. Says the Gemara, okay, but if it means chelev, why not just say chelev? Instead of saying damai, leaving it for us to figure out, just say chelev outright. The answer is because Rachmana chelev had the Torah spelled out chelev avamina, I would say, yeah, the chelev is asr, but it's not as asr as it typically is. Typically, if one eats forbidden fats, there's kares. Perhaps by psule, it drops down a level. On the one hand, we have that linkage to tzviva ayil, whose chelev is completely mutter. On the other hand, it says don't eat the chelev. So perhaps it's somewhere in the middle. It falls in the middle. It's not kares, not as severe as a regular chelev, but it's asr, it's a lav. That's what I would think. Havamina. Because we utilize the comparison to tzviva ayil and diminish the isser of the chelev somewhat. We have the pasuk, which also helps us, meaning it teaches us that it's asr. The hekesh comes and downgrades it from kares. The chikaros of kares to tell us that when the Torah applies kares, that's only on real chelev, a real behema, oichel chelev min behema d'chsiv. Shnema kikol oichel chelev min behema. As opposed to here, on the point of the pasuk spelling out not to eat the chelev of a disqualified carbon, make him a lav, to give you a lav ba'am, or just a lav. So I would think it's somewhere in the middle. That's why the Torah spelled it out and expressed chelev using the word dam. That is comparable to dam. It's completely holy, 100% asur, with full brunt, full consequence. Teach us, ma dami BECHOROS, just like the dam of these animals are kares, there's no reason to mitigate the isur there. Afchel BECHOROS, likewise, the chel is fully asur, and is kares. Now, just one question. According to Rava, so we know that the chelev of the psule is asr because it says damai. But Rav is explaining that the Braisa expressed it differently. But the Tana ach says that the ach is coming to limit that comparison to the tzviva ayil and to disallow the chelev of a psule. Clearly the Braisa expressed it like that, and you're saying it's from a different pasuk of damai. No, it's all one and the same. The Braisa meant like this. Ilu loy never damai. The Torah would not have said the word damai to prohibit the chelev of the psule. It still would have a way to learn it from ach v'lechelbei. But ashash never damai. Now that Torah spells out the dam, i.e. the chelev. So we know that from there. Okay, so according to this, the word ach is available to tell you l'oisoi v'esbenoi. The us is coming to tell you that oisoi v'esbenoi limitation applies to psula mikdashim as well. So bottom line, psula mikdashim. I'll compare it to tzviva ayil to the extent that there's no chiyuv b'chayra, there's no matanis. However, isur chelav, yes, whether it's because of ach or because of damai and oisoi v'esbenoi as well. Ve'enon yaitz l'chulin. Mishnah continues, even after redemption. Can't send it out to the barn to share its wool, to work with it. It's only meant for its own use to to enjoy it, to shecht and eat the meat. How do I know that anything else, all byproducts, the wool and the milk and the is asr? The pasuk says like this: Tizbach, you can slaughter and eat it. Like giza, you can't share the wool. Basar, you can have the meat, and not the milk. And then V'chalta teaches, oh, here's that pasuk. You can't feed it to dogs. Makan. We learn from here, you can't redeem a disqualified carbon in order to feed it to the dogs. You have to bury it. So the point is, you can't. If the only purpose, if the only use is to feed it to a dog or whatever, then redemption is not an option. Okay. Now there's another version. We turn to Talmud Bavli, a different version of this drasha. The pasuk says Tizbach v'chalta basar, and they learn like this: Tizbach v'chalta goes together to teach ein lecha b'hen. The only access you have to this psula is through shchita to eat the meat, as opposed to sharing its wool, enjoying the milk. So what's the difference between this approach and the previous approach? The difference is because in contrast to the previous version, we had a special pasuk v'chalta to rule out the klavim, versus this approach doesn't have that drasha. But there's no issue redeeming it to feed it off to the dogs. Mishnah continues. Even the offspring of this psula mikdashim is asr. Now, before we start the Gemara, let's just get a clear picture of the timing. When did this psula give birth? Basically, we could have three options here. Either it all took place after redemption, so it conceived and birthed after redemption, in which case the Gemara learned that it's simply an ordinary animal. There's no question, it has no kedusha. At this point, there's no problem with the vlad, it has no kedusha. Versus if both occurred before redemption, certainly in that case it has kedusha. It's based on a pasuk we see in the Gemara. In fact, according to some shittas, you can bring it as a cover on the mizbeach. This offspring, this vlad that has no mum. Rather, Amish is speaking about an in-between type of case. It conceived before redemption, and it gave birth after redemption. Okay, that's the issue here. And on that, the Mishnah says it's asr. It's off limits. What to do with it, we'll see in the Gemara as well. According to some, even in a room till it dies, you can't use it at all. The people Chacham are concerned that otherwise the farmer might be tempted to just hang on to the psula mikdashim and let it breed and let it give birth and benefit from the offspring, in which case he might leave it around and might end up using the mother animal without a pidya and cause all kinds of complications. So this offspring is totally off limits. According to others, you actually meant to sort of redesignate it as its own carbon, and then when after birth you take the offspring and you redeem it once it gets a mum, and you take the money and use it for the mizbeach. We'll see that in the Gemara. So we're speaking about this in-between stage, in-between type of scenario where it conceived before a pidyon and it gave birth after pidyon. Let's see how the Gemara spells it out. Hey Chidam, what exactly occurred? Ilayma the abar v'isal lacham b'dyon. Now we're speaking that it conceived and gave birth after the mother animal had been redeemed. This offspring is an ordinary animal in the barn. Amai, what's the issue? Vlad sviva ayol ninu. The pasuk calls the psuli as sviva ayol. So at this late stage in the game, after redemption, although the mother animal has some residual, kedusha, but the offspring conceived and born now is totally an ordinary animal. No limitations, no special status. Ella must be the aber lefnei b'dyonan. It conceived before redemption. It gave birth after redemption. In which case the Mishnah says it's asur. What to do, we'll see later. But let's make a deal. Let's infer. But suppose both things occurred prior to pidyon, which is not the topic of our Mishnah. But let's just infer from here. If it conceived and gave birth prior to redemption, you mean to say that the offspring has kedusha, real kedusha, like a carbon. It's not just asur; it's kaddish. But how do we know that is so? We have a pasuk zachar. There's a pasuk by the Shlamim. It says either a zachar or a nekeva. Now it seems to be superfluous, as Rashi explains. Let us just say he's offering a shlamim. Why discuss gender if it covers both, right? If you could, So the pasuk is highlighting zachar is coming to add l'rabbi savlad. The offspring of a shlamim has kedusha shlamim. On a keva, the word on a keva, l'rabbi satmura, the switch of the shlam also has kedusha and is offered on the mizbeach. Ve'elo levlad tmimin, tmuras tmimim. Perhaps this only applies to the offspring or the tmura of an unblemished shlamim, which has highest level of kedusha. So it carries over to the offspring, to the tmura. What about if the mother animal became blemished? Vlad bali mumin, and there's an offspring, or utmuras bali mumin, or the switch of a bal mumin. And how do we know that they also deserve to be treated as on the highest level as regular kodesh, animals belonging on the mizbeach? Shu'aymer im zachar. The word im is coming to add l'rabois, even the offspring levlad of a bali mumin. The word im nekeva is coming l'rabois tmuras bali mumin. Hence, we know that if we're dealing with level 1, meaning an animal which was really designated and meant for a mizbeach, and then it went awry, it got sour, got a mum, and it's unsuitable, the offspring of this animal right now in this state is considered kaddish. What to do with them, we'll see in a minute, but that's pretty clear, and let's learn from this pasuk. Versus our Mishnah, which is speaking that it gave birth after it had been redeemed already. On that the Mishnah says it's asur. Oisan, so that triggers the next question. What do we do with them? Oisan v'lodais, those offspring that emerged after redemption of this level 1 animal, shlacha b'dyonan, matay aleinu, what's to be done with them? Now we take a quick pause and we go back l'fnei b'dyonan, because certainly the offspring that occurred before redemption, which is kaddish, based on this pasuk just mentioned, and now we have machlekes as well. Miflag pligu, we have machlekes in terms of the destination of that animal. Ikul mandamar kadshi lekarv. Some say, yeah, it's perfectly holy. Put on the mizbeach. It's a regular carbon. Ikul mandamar kadshi liriyah. Others say no. True, it's kaddish, inherently kaddish. We have to send it out to the farm, get it blemished, and forward its value to the mizbeach. On the one hand, you can say, look, there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, I know its mother is blemished, but its mother had a very high level of kedusha. Now we have a offspring, and the mother hadn't yet been redeemed, so this offspring is fully suitable for a carbon. Others say no. In fact, he's coming from a balmum, and he's not suitable on his own, rather for its value. Okay. So that's a side point. Back to our discussion. Our Mishnah is speaking about a different case. We had a level 1 animal that had conceived, then it was redeemed while carrying the offspring within it, and then it gave birth. That's a tricky case. What do we do with these vlades that came out after redemption? Put into this closed room, this dome, this room, let them die from starvation, because there's no other option. We're stuck. What should we do with them? Put them on the mizbeach. Because kedusha they're coming from a diminished kedusha. The mother animal had 2 strikes against it. First of all, it had once been suitable, then it became unsuitable, became rejected because it got a severe blemish. That's first of all. And also, let's realize, this offspring was inside the mother animal while it was redeemed. So it experienced, so to speak, the redemption of the mother. And Rashi says, The offspring is called Yerech Imoy. The fetus is like part and parcel of the mother animal. So technically it experienced redemption, so it's really far gone. So you can't really put on the Mizbeach. On the other hand, for Kinush, I just redeem it outright. No, I can't do that. They're not strong enough. Their Kedusha is not present enough. To attract a pidyon. Pidyon is on something which has Kedusha, so the pidyon affects a transfer of Kedusha. But this Kedusha is not strong enough to be transferred onto something else to overtake, the money or whatever. So we're stuck. So we leave it alone, let it die. But there's a different opinion. Amri Marava, they quoted Mishmei Reb Chanina. No. Here goes. Let's preempt the issue. How? Samach Pidyanim, before you redeem him, Matfis L'Shem Zevach. Reassign them, relabel them for the sake of the same carbon. The mother was a shlamim. That's it. Relabel the offspring as a shlamim, which will give it its own designation, sort of separated from the mother. And then when it's born, you can now let it get a blemish, redeem it, put the money on the mizbeach, buy another carbon. So just a semantics question. You're referring to prior to redemption of the fetus? Samach b'dyanan? You're redeeming the fetus? Remember the b'nei p'dyanin? Do you mean to say you can redeem the fetus? Remember the b'nei p'dyanin? How can you redeem the fetus? We just said the fetus has a weak kedusha. El ema. So how can you, the offspring itself? No, apparently we're not talking about redeeming the actual offspring before or after birth. No, it's not possible. As we just said, it's not strong enough to, even after it's born, it's not strong enough. Do you mean to say the b'nei p'dyanin, they're candidates for redemption? Ella, no, rather, ema samach l'pidyan iman matfisan l'shem oisazevach. What he meant is before they redeem the mother animal. So a second before that, hold it and go be matfisam, relabel the unborn fetus inside the mother animal as a shlamim, give it its own sort of independent identity. So this way, even after you redeem the mother, the offspring sort of already gained its own independence on its own track to a certain extent. So then when it's born, it has its own identity and you can go redeem it. Now, time of mind. So this seems to be a pretty plausible solution. Why did Rav Huna insist that we let it starve? We don't. Amar Levi, like we explained, there's a concern that he might linger around and he might, the farmer might be tempted to be megadol mehen adar, to leave the mother animal around, the psulam midashim, to generate offspring, herds of offspring, if in fact you can use them and benefit from them. In which case he might end up stumbling and using the mother animal before pidyon. So we don't want that to happen. We disallow any benefit and we just send it off. Okay? Just for a brief recap, so we have the v'ladais of an animal, a carbon animal, which is a balmum. What happens? So we have three possible scenarios. Either it conceived and gave birth after pidyon. In that case, it's totally your animal, no issue there. If it all happened before pidyon, it has kedusha. According to some, you put on mizbech. According to some, let it get blemished and you redeem it. Our Mishnah is focused on the middle case, where it conceived before pidyon, gave birth afterwards. Mishnah calls it aser. Why? According to Rav Huna, there's xera. We just let it starve. We let it, we don't utilize it. Whereas according to Rav Chanina, you jump the gun by being matvasid, by relabeling it as a shlamim prior to the redemption of the mother. In which case, when it's born, it has its own strong enough kedusha so that you can redeem it. Now comes just a side question. Do I have to relabel it as in sync with the mother's kedusha? Is it locked into shlamim? Or could I just relabel it as any carbon? Mother's a shlamim, the offspring is an island. Ravina asked the question of Sheish's Malach, so can I relabel it to any carbon? Amalei says no. No, you're locked into the mother's kedusha. My time and why? Amalei says, we connect the B'Sharecha by Psulam Mikdashim to the word B'Sharecha by the B'char. Just like by the B'char, you're locked into B'char, you can't relabel a B'char as another carbon. Ma B'char Emat Fisai L'chol Zevach Sheitz. You can't redirect the B'char and turn into any carbon. The pasuk specifies bechor is a bechor, you can't relabel it and redesignate it. Likewise, by the psulei ein matfisan, it's locked into the mother's kedusha, you can't redirect it. We have a brisa which is supposed to have sheshes, that in fact the relabeling it is in sync with the mother's kedusha only. So here comes a very long brisa, which is a pretty useful review of the whole sugya. We'll present both levels of psulim, level 1, level 2. Level 1 meaning the animal which had potential for akrava, then it went awry, in which case even after redemption still retains some kedusha. And level 2, which is the weaker kedusha, which is an animal which never had potential for akrava. It was blemished so severely before it was assigned as a carbon, so it only has kedusha as damim, in which case after redemption it's just back in the barn. Okay, so we have kachim shekadam mum kabod lagdation. This is the weaker one. This is level 2. It had a serious blemish before it was assigned as a carbon. And if then you redeem it, it's back to the barn like a regular animal. Chayav mibchayra matanis and aschiva b'chayra matanis bein lefnei b'dyanim lachal b'dyanim. Now, whether before or after redemption, a person shares them or work with them, there's no malchus, there's no lav on that. So that is very different than the next level, than the kedushas haguf type of. Whether before or after redemption, in this type of animal has no ability to generate a tumura. It's not strong enough. Before redemption, a person benefits from it for personal reasons. He has committed milah, because after all, it's the possession of Beis Hamikdash, even though it's not technically carbon material, right? After redemption, there's no milah; it's a regular animal. Its offspring is considered your personal animal, and the offspring of this type of animal, even before redemption. Here's the punchline: even before redemption, those offspring, even though they're not blemished, they don't rise to a level of kedushas haguf, and you can just redeem it like a piece of wood. Okay, and you can decide to turn into any carbon, even different than the mother animal. It's not bound to the mother animal. This is the rule here, the formula. So this type of animal, which had a severe blemish before being made hegdish, it's considered like a regular animal, like your own possession. All you have in them, all you're obligated to do is iluy, to assess it, to evaluate it, and to redeem it. Done deal. It's like a piece of wood. But here comes what's more relevant to us. Level 1. But if the hegdish preceded the mum, in which case it rose to level 1, it was inherently kadosh, suitable for carbon, or had a passing, temporary mum before being made a carbon, and after it became hegdish, then it got a severe blemish, so it went sour. So now we're dealing with a totally different level, something which had potential for akrava. It has kedushas haguf, so even after redemption, it's called psulei mikdashim. Even after redemption, peturim not b'chayim not tanis, exempt from b'chayim not tanis. Bein lefnei b'dyanin in achah b'dyanin hagoyz v'avidin. Whether before or after redemption, a person works or shares them, it's malchus. Right, as the pasuk spells out, you shouldn't work with a carbon. Ubein lefnei b'dyanin, ubein achah b'dyanin oisin t'mura. Whether before or after redemption, it has the ability to make a t'mura. Lefnei b'dyanin, if a person benefits from it before its redemption, me'al ben there's me'ilah. La'achah b'dyanin in ma'al ben, after b'dyanin there's no me'ilah. Okay, now Vlada is saying kodesh. Its offspring, right? Their children are kodesh. I was speaking that it gave birth before it was redeemed, so it's kodesh. As we explained before, it's kadosh, and according to some, you actually put on the mizbeach. Ve'en if tmimin, you can't just redeem them unblemished; they're like a carbon. Ve'ein matfisan l'chozer sheyirtze. And these unborn fetuses inside this level 1 animal, which had been blemished, the offspring this unborn offspring cannot be redesignated and relabeled to any type of carbon. If you want to relabel it, gesundheit, but you're locked into the type of kedusha of the mother. The mother's a shlom, you have to redesignate the offspring as a shlom as well. This is perfectly in sync with Rav Sheshes, who taught us likewise. And the Brisa concludes with a general rule, klal shel davar, this is the formula to work with. Harihein kehegdish l'chol devreim, this level 1 animal is like any other hegdish. Ve'ein l'cha behen ella heter achila b'lvad. And the only thing you can do with them is eat them, meaning if they, because of the mum, you can go redeem and eat it, but otherwise, it has all kinds of kedushas. Okay, now, so basically the first klal was on level 2. Klal shel davar, we said harein kechul chol dvareim, meaning once it's blemished, it's like a regular animal, just have to recess it and redeem it. And right, so after you redeem it, it's like chulin. Versus here, even after redemption, it's like kodesh, just you could eat it. Now, what's the point of saying klal shel davar? Typically, that's coming to add something. Klala, an extra formula. What's it coming to add? Another twist, another element to the equation. Klal shel davar the reishel asuyeh. Klal shel davar in the first part of the Brisa, speaking about the level 2, the kedushas damim. What's it coming to add? To say that it's just a regular animal? What's it coming to? La asuyeh shechta mechutz the pater. It's coming to teach us that even before redemption, person shechts it outside the mikdash is pater. And that's why the Brisa emphasized klal shel davar harihein kechul chol dvareim. These animals, once they're blemished so severely, they never reach even mizbeach potential. They're like chulin. All you got to do is redeem it. So if you shecht it outside your pater, it's not a real carbon. On the other hand, klal shel davar the seifa, the klal at the end of the Brisa, which is level 1. What's that coming to say? We turn to the next page. Asuyeh chelba. Teach us the chelav is asr. Meaning, that's no different than any other animal. You have a head to shecht to eat it, but the chelav, it's still asr. Let's just finish another piece here. Amamar. Let's go back and review what the Brisa had said. Ei niftin tmimin. So, just a quick reference again. We're talking about the level 1 animal, which had been a proper carbon, had potential, then it went awry, got a severe mum, disqualified it, and if it conceived at that point, and then it gave birth after redemption, Mishnah says it's asr, blood is asr, you have 2 approaches. Rav Huna says, let it die, there's no other option. Whereas Rav Chanina, Rav Sheshes learned that there's another way to resolve this. Be matfasit, chaparayim, before you put the mother, relabel the offspring, give it its own identity, in which case after it's born, and then it gets blemished, you can go sell it and use the money for a carbon. Let's have a look at this, let's excerpt this Brisa here, the Brisa that we just mentioned, and see how it fits with those 2 opinions. Omar, ein niftin tmin. Ein niftin tmimim, vein matfisan chozer b'shiyirtze. So talking about the carbon which has kedushas haguf, level 1, conceived, you applied it, then it gave birth. Bryce says you can't just redeem that offspring while it's unblemished. Ein niftin tmimim, because it has kedusha like a carbon, you have to wait until it gets blemished. Vein matfisan chozer b'shiyirtze, nor, there's another point that when you relabel it prior to birth, You're locked into the same kedusha as the mother. You can't just redirect it, as we explained. But let's focus on the first part of this sentence. You can't redeem it while it's unblemished. We're talking about the offspring. But once it gets a mum, you can redeem it. Because that has a high level of kedusha. Because it has been relabeled, given its own identity. So now, when it's blemished, you can transfer the kedusha onto money, have that money be used for a carbon. Which is in contrast to Rav Huna, who said there's no solution for these offspring. Furthermore, the Brisa emphasizes you can't just relabel it to anything that enters your whim. You could relabel it as per the mother's kedusha. Give it its own shlamim identity. So how do you do this? How does it play out? The matfisin says zevach apparently because you're going to take this unborn fetus and say, well, that's going to be a shlamim, and then you redeem the mother, and then when it gives birth, you can wait till it gets blemished and be paid to the vlad. Neimat Yahav the Rav Huna seems to be in direct contradiction to Rav Huna, said there's no solution for this offspring. Amlach Rav Huna. The truth is, the Brisa really holds that even after the offspring became blemished, you can't redeem it. There's no solution. The Brisa never meant to give it that option. If the Brisa is merely using symmetrical language to the first part of the Brisa, where we spoke about level 2, where there it says that the offspring can be redeemed even unblemished because it's just like a piece of wood, it has no kedusha, niftin tmimim. So Tanam Seifa and niftin tmimim, the Brisa in symmetrical style contrasted and said, okay, in the Seifa, which is level 1, you can't redeem it unblemished, but really you can't redeem it at all. And also on account of the Reish, where it said that the offspring can be now relabeled as any carbon you want, because it's just like an ordinary animal, has no real kedusha. Tanam is seifa. Likewise, in the seifa, use symmetrical language. That the offspring cannot be relabeled as any carbon that you wish, but really it means to say that you can't do anything with it. You can't do anything with it. We're stuck. As per Rav Huna's opinion, that the vlad of a psula mikdashin conceived prior to pidyon and birth after pidyon is totally asur and left to die. Whew, okay, it's pretty complicated Gemara. Let's do a quick chazara. We discussed hamad of haracha requirements, whether it applies to all kinds, or only to bedek habayis, or only kachim mizbeach. We explained the Mishnah accordingly. Psula mikdashim is exempt from b'chorah matanis, but is obligated in chelav meis benai. Psula mikdashim, you can only have the basar, not the chalav or the giza, or regarding klavim. That's a machlokes. The offspring of a carbon, well, it depends. Conceived in birth prior to redemption is certainly kadosh. According to some, you put on the mizbeach even. That's based on a pasuk, right? If it conceived and gave birth after redemption, it's your animal. Gesundheit. If it conceived prior to redemption, gave birth afterwards, that's the machlokes here. Rav Huna says there's no solution. Well, that's according to Rabbi Chanina. Chanina Rav Sheishes, you preempt the issue by being magdish the offspring prior to birth, prior to redeeming the mother. Then after it's born, it has its own kedusha. And once it's blemished, you can redeem it and use the money to buy your carbon. All the best to you and much, much hatzlacha.